Ladies and gentlemen, life has a strange way of giving us wake-up calls. Sometimes they come disguised as struggles, other times as opportunities, but always as lessons. And in that moment, you realize something powerful. Your future doesn't change in years, it changes in days, even in a single week if you decide to shift the way you live. I stand before you today, not to share theories, not to pass along empty words, but to tell you about 5 habits, simple yet profound, that completely altered the direction of my life in just 7 days. Imagine that. 1 week of intentional choices reshaping years of possibilities. These habits are not magic tricks. They're not reserved for the gifted or the lucky. They are available to anyone willing to trade excuses for discipline, comfort for growth, and habits that steal life for habits that give it back. If you're ready, truly ready, this could be the very moment where your own story begins to transform. There's something extraordinary about the early hours of the morning. It's almost as if the universe whispers its secrets to those who are awake to hear them. Think about it. While most of the world still lies under the comfort of sleep, the few who rise before dawn step into a world untouched by noise, free from distraction and rich with possibility. The habit of rising early is not merely about getting out of bed, it's about stepping into mastery over your own life. Because the first battle of every day is with yourself. The battle between the bed and your purpose, between comfort and progress, between the easy choice and the necessary one. And let me assure you, when you win this battle, you set the tone for every other victory that day. Most people don't lose in life because they lack intelligence, resources, or talent. They lose because they give their mornings away to slumber. They hit the snooze button, not realizing they are snoozing on their destiny. Those extra 30 minutes of sleep feel harmless, but they come at the expense of clarity, preparation, and momentum. Success, my friends, isn't built in the grand moments. It's shaped in the small disciplines, and rising before the world awakens is one of the greatest disciplines of all. Why is the early hour so powerful? Because it gives you something priceless, time without interruption. Think about how most people live, reacting all day long to messages, demands, and noise. They roll out of bed late, already behind, rushing into the chaos of the day, and then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed and powerless. But the one who rises early walks into the day as its master, not its servant. Before the phone starts buzzing, before the obligations pile up, before the world lays claim to your time, you have already laid claim to yourself. And here's the truth. The mind is at its sharpest in the early morning. The first thoughts of the day are like seeds planted in fertile soil. If you plant distraction, you reap confusion. If you plant focus, you reap clarity. Imagine using those first sacred hours to read something nourishing, to plan with intention, to move your body, to align your spirit. Imagine starting the day with strength instead of stress. That is the power of rising early. Now, I can already hear someone saying, but I'm not a morning person. Let me challenge that idea. Nobody is born a morning person. That's not a genetic trait. It's a trained habit. You weren't born knowing how to walk, but you trained your legs to carry you. You weren't born knowing how to write, but you trained your hand to form words. In the same way, you can train your body, your mind, and your spirit to embrace the early morning. And once you do, you'll wonder why you ever lived any other way. Rising early isn't about punishment. It's about positioning. It positions you ahead of the pack. Picture 2 runners. One begins at sunrise, the other begins hours later. Who will cover more ground? Life works the same way. Every day you rise before the world awakens, you get a head start on your dreams, your growth, your goals. While others are asleep, you are sowing seeds. And when the harvest comes, people will call you lucky. But luck is simply the reward of preparation meeting opportunity. And preparation begins in the early hours. Let's get practical. When you rise early, don't waste that sacred time. It's not meant for scrolling endlessly or numbing yourself with noise. It's meant for building. Take the first hour and call it your hour of power. Use it to strengthen the three dimensions of life, body, mind, and spirit. Move your body because energy produces energy. Feed your mind because your thoughts shape your reality. Align your spirit because without inner peace, outer success is empty. In just 1 hour each morning, you can fuel your entire day with clarity, strength, and purpose. Let me tell you something profound. The first hour is the rudder of the day. If you start it in chaos, don't be surprised if the rest of the day follows suit. But if you start it with discipline, direction, and determination, you'll notice how even the challenges of the day bend in your favor. You can't control everything life throws at you, but you can control the way you enter the battlefield. Rising before the world awakens arms you with the armor of preparation. I want you to think of it this way. Every morning the sun rises. It has no choice. It fulfills its purpose with absolute consistency. What if you did the same? What if you made the decision that when the sun rises, you rise too? Not once in a while, not only when you feel like it, but every day as a commitment to your future self. That kind of discipline doesn't just change your mornings, it changes your life. Because discipline compounds. What starts as one choice to rise early becomes a chain reaction of better choices, healthier decisions, sharper focus, stronger resolve. And let me remind you, rising early is not about adding more hours to your day. It's about adding more life to your hours. Because an early morning lived with intention is worth more than a late morning lived in reaction. And when you string together days like that, days of victory, days of momentum, you begin to experience the transformation that comes not in years, but in weeks. So here is my challenge. Give yourself 1 week of rising before the world awakens. Just 7 days. Trade the comfort of the pillow for the power of purpose. Watch how your energy changes. Watch how your focus sharpens. Watch how your confidence grows. Because once you taste the strength that comes from mastering your mornings, you'll never want to give it back. My friends, the world belongs to those who wake up for it. The question is, will you sleep through your destiny or will you rise to meet it? If the body requires food to stay alive, then the mind requires knowledge to stay awake. The difference is this: if you neglect the body, you grow weak. If you neglect the mind, you grow blind. And blindness of the mind is far more dangerous than weakness of the body because it means you walk through life with no vision, no understanding, no direction. That is why the discipline of feeding the mind daily is not optional. It is essential. You see, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thinking, and the quality of your thinking is determined by the quality of what you feed your mind. What you allow in, through books, through conversations, through ideas, shapes your decisions, your beliefs, and ultimately your destiny. Every day, you and I are either building the garden of our mind with wisdom or letting it be overtaken by weeds of ignorance. And here's the truth. Weeds don't need permission to grow. Neglect will produce them automatically. If you want flowers, if you want fruit, if you want beauty in the garden of your life, you must plant intentionally and you must feed consistently. Now, many people will spend hours feeding their bodies, planning their meals, choosing their diet carefully, but when it comes to the mind, they consume junk without hesitation, mindless scrolling, empty entertainment, negative conversations, poisonous gossip, and then they wonder why they feel heavy with worry, weak in discipline, and confused about their future. You cannot expect strength of character if you feed your mind weakness. You cannot expect clarity of purpose if you feed your mind clutter. The mind, just like the body, becomes what you feed it. Let me give you a principle that has changed lives. Input equals output. If you want better output, better decisions, better relationships, better opportunities, you must change your input. The leaders, the thinkers, the visionaries of history were not necessarily born with more talent than others. They simply fed their minds differently. While the crowd was entertaining themselves, they were educating themselves. While others wasted time, they invested it. And the return on that investment is wisdom. And wisdom always pays dividends. So how do you feed the mind daily? It begins with a decision to become a student for life. Not just a student in school, not just a student for a degree, but a student forever. Life itself is the classroom, and every day presents a new lesson. But you must come prepared. You must sit at the desk of discipline and say, today I will learn, today I will grow, today I will invest in my mind. One of the best ways is through reading. A book is not just paper and ink, it is a mind speaking to you across time and distance. When you open a book, you invite a great thinker to sit with you, to share their wisdom, their mistakes, their insights, their victories. You can sit with the greatest leaders, the wisest philosophers, the most successful entrepreneurs, all within the quiet pages of a book. Why stumble blindly through life when you can borrow the maps of those who have already traveled the road? Every book you read adds another tool to your toolbox, another brick to your foundation, and brick by brick you build a fortress of wisdom around your life. But books are not the only food. Your conversations matter just as much. Who do you spend time with? What do you talk about? Do your friends feed your mind with encouragement, ideas, and vision, or do they drain you with complaints, gossip, and nonsense? Remember, association is a form of nourishment. If you spend time with giants, your thinking will grow tall. If you spend time with dwarf thinking, your vision will shrink. Choose your conversations like you choose your meals, carefully, because what goes in will show up in your life. Now let me pause here to make something very clear. Feeding the mind daily is not about stuffing it with random information. It's about intentional nourishment. The goal is not to know everything, but to know the right things, the things that sharpen your purpose, strengthen your character, and guide your decisions. Knowledge is like food. Too much junk and you get sick, but the right diet and you grow strong. So ask yourself each day, what am I feeding my mind right now? Is it building me or is it breaking me? Another powerful way to feed the mind is reflection. It's not just about taking in new ideas, but about letting them sink deep. Some people consume books, seminars, podcasts, but they never stop to chew on the wisdom. They swallow it whole, and it passes right through without nourishment. Reflection is the digestion of the mind. It's where information becomes transformation. Take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and ask, what did I learn today? How can I apply it? Where did I succeed? Where did I fail? What must I improve tomorrow? That simple discipline turns knowledge into wisdom and wisdom into action. And let me tell you something, the daily feeding of the mind doesn't just change your thoughts, it changes your identity. Because what you repeatedly learn, you eventually believe, and what you believe, you eventually become. If you constantly feed your mind fear, you will live timid. If you constantly feed your mind faith, you will live bold. If you constantly feed your mind limitation, you will live small. If you constantly feed your mind possibility, you will live large. The mind is a mirror. It reflects what you place before it. Now let's talk about consistency. Feeding the mind once in a while is not enough. You cannot eat once a week and expect health. You cannot read one book a year and expect wisdom. Growth is not built in bursts, it's built T in daily disciplines. 10 minutes a day of nourishing input is better than hours once in a while. Little by little, thought by thought, truth by truth, you build a mental empire. And when the storms of life come, and they will, your mind will be strong, anchored, and unshaken. I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself 1 year from now. Imagine that every day between now and then, you fed your mind with wisdom, encouragement, and truth. Imagine the strength of your decisions, the clarity of your vision, the power of your confidence. 1 year from now, you would hardly recognize yourself. And it wouldn't be because of one dramatic moment. It would be because of one simple habit repeated daily. So here is my challenge to you. Feed your mind today. Feed it tomorrow. Feed it the day after. Make it a habit as natural as eating, as necessary as breathing. Guard your mind like a fortress. Don't allow garbage to enter. Instead, fill it with books that inspire, conversations that uplift, reflections that sharpen, ideas that expand. Because when you feed your mind daily, you are not just living another day. You are building another layer of the life you were meant to live. My friends, a hungry mind is a weak mind. A nourished mind is a powerful mind. The question is simple. Which one will you choose to carry into your future? One of the greatest tragedies of life is not making mistakes, because mistakes are part of the journey. The tragedy is making the same mistakes again and again because we never took the time to pause, to reflect, to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? You see, life doesn't just reward action, it rewards reflection. Action gives you experiences, but reflection turns those experiences into wisdom. Without reflection, even the busiest life can remain shallow. With reflection, even the simplest life can become profound. Think of reflection as the bridge between living and learning. Every day we are flooded with experiences, decisions, conversations, victories, failures, but unless we stop, review, and extract meaning from them, those experiences are wasted. It's like eating food without digesting it. You took it in, but it never nourished you. Reflection is the digestion of life. It is where lessons are absorbed, wisdom is formed, and growth becomes permanent. Now, most people don't reflect, not because they can't, but because they don't make time for it. They run from one task to another, 1 week to the next, 1 year to the next, without ever stopping to ask what worked, what didn't, what must I change? And then they wonder why their life feels like a cycle, different days, same struggles. The truth is, without structured reflection, history repeats itself because lessons not learned are lessons relived. Let me tell you, reflection is not just sitting in thought. It is structured. It requires intention. It's the discipline of asking yourself the right questions consistently. Let me give you some. What did I do today that brought me closer to my goals? What distracted me from my priorities? What did I love? Aren't about myself in this situation. How can I do better tomorrow? What am I grateful for today? Those are simple questions, but their answers are treasures. When you reflect like this daily, you begin to see patterns. You recognize habits that sabotage your progress. You identify strengths you can lean on. You discover opportunities you would have missed in the rush. Reflection doesn't just record life, it reveals it. Now, here's something powerful. Reflection gives you control over your story. Life without reflection is like sailing without a compass. You may move, but you don't know where you're headed. Reflection is the compass that turns random motion into purposeful direction. It allows you to correct course before you drift too far. Small corrections made daily can take you to a completely different destination over time. Some people say, but I don't have time to reflect. Let me respond. You don't have time not to. Think of the time you waste repeating the same mistakes, repairing the same problems, regretting the same choices. Reflection saves you from that cycle. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. 5 minutes of reflection can save you 5 years of frustration. That's the power of it. I want you to picture this. Imagine every evening, instead of collapsing into bed with the noise of the day still buzzing in your mind, you took a quiet moment to sit down with a journal and capture your lessons. Imagine writing down the small victories, the challenges you faced, the insights you gained. Over time, that journal becomes a library of wisdom, your own personal textbook of life. And here's the beauty. The lessons you capture today will serve you tomorrow and the day after and years into the future. They become a gift you keep giving to yourself. Reflection also breeds gratitude. When you stop and look back on your day, you begin to see things you would have missed in the rush. The kindness of a stranger, the progress you made, the opportunity you were given. All these moments could pass unnoticed. But reflection shines a light on them, reminding you that even in the ordinary there is extraordinary. Gratitude grows where reflection flows, and gratitude, my friends, is the foundation of joy. Now let's talk about failure, because this is where reflection becomes priceless. Failure without reflection is discouragement, but failure with reflection is education. When you reflect on failure, you strip it of its power to defeat you. You take the sting out of it and you transform it into fuel. You say, yes, I stumbled, but what did I learn? How can I do better next time? What does this reveal about me? And suddenly, the failure becomes a stepping stone. Reflection redeems failure. Without it, failure is final. With it, failure is fertilizer. It grows something new in you. But reflection is not only about looking back, it's also about looking forward. Once you identify your lessons, you set your intention for tomorrow. You say, here's what I will repeat, here's what I will change, here's what I will improve. Reflection makes tomorrow better than today. And if you keep doing that, making each day better than the last, you will soon find yourself living a life far beyond what you imagined. Let me warn you of something. The opposite of reflection is distraction. And the world today is filled with distraction. Many people never reflect, not because they are too busy, but because they are too distracted. They fear silence. They fear sitting alone with their thoughts. They drown themselves in noise so they don't have to face the truth. But truth ignored is still truth, and one day it catches up. Don't let distraction rob you of wisdom. Learn to embrace stillness, because in stillness you hear the lessons of life. So how do you practice structured reflection? Start small. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions. What am I grateful for? What did I learn today? How will I improve tomorrow? Write the answers down. That's it. It may feel simple, but simple disciplines create profound results. And if you do this every day, in 1 week, you'll feel more clarity. In 1 month, more direction. In 1 year, more wisdom than most people gather in a lifetime. Remember this. Life is not measured by how much you experience, but by how much you learn from what you experience. And learning only happens when you reflect. Without reflection, the days pass by like pages left blank. With reflection, each day becomes a chapter of wisdom, a record of growth, a story worth reading. So I leave you with this challenge. Don't let your life become a blur of unexamined days. Don't just live, learn. Don't just move forward. Look back and take the lessons with you. Let reflection be the pause that gives your life rhythm, the silence that gives your voice power, the mirror that reveals who you are becoming. Because in the end, it's not the days we live that matter. It's the lessons we keep. And reflection, my friends, is how you keep them. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a discipline, a practice, a choice. And when practiced intentionally, it has the power to transform your perspective, your attitude, and your destiny. Too many people wait for life to shower them with blessings before they feel thankful. They say, when I have more money, I'll be grateful. When my circumstances change, I'll be grateful. When everything goes my way, I'll be grateful. But gratitude doesn't work that way. Gratitude is not the result of abundance. It is the cause of it. You don't become grateful because life is better. Life becomes better because you are grateful. Think of gratitude as the lens through which you see the world. Two people can walk through the same day, face the same circumstances, and come out with two completely different experiences. One says, nothing ever works for me. Everything is a burden. Life is unfair. The other says, I am blessed with opportunities. I have lessons to learn, and even challenges are shaping me. Same world, different lens. Gratitude polishes the lens of your vision so you can see clearly what is already good and what can be made good. Gratitude, when practiced intentionally, is not shallow optimism. It's not pretending that everything is perfect. It's acknowledging that even in imperfection, there is something valuable. Even in difficulty, there is something to appreciate. Even in loss, there is something to be thankful for. Life may not always give you what you want, but it always gives you something you can use. Gratitude finds that something and magnifies it. Let me make this practical. Intentional gratitude means making thankfulness a daily discipline, not a passing emotion. It means you deliberately stop every day to recognize the gifts around you, the big ones and the small ones, the breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the chance to try again, the people who believe in you, the lessons you've learned, the opportunity to live another day. When you see these blessings and you name them, something happens inside you. Your heart lifts, your stress lessens, your joy deepens. Gratitude shifts you from focusing on what you lack to celebrating what you have. Now, some people might say, but I don't have much to be grateful for. Let me challenge that. Gratitude doesn't depend on having much. It depends on noticing what you do have. If you wait until you have everything before you're thankful, you'll never be thankful. Gratitude is not about quantity. It's about awareness. It's about training your eyes to see blessings where others see nothing. You can walk into a room and notice the dirt, or you can notice the light. Both are there, but your focus determines your experience. And let me tell you something remarkable. Gratitude multiplies what it focuses on. The more grateful you are for what you have, the more life seems to give you. Not because magic happens, but because gratitude sharpens your awareness. It helps you notice opportunities you would have missed. It opens doors in relationships because thankful people are magnetic. People want to be around them. It strengthens resilience because gratitude makes you see possibilities where others see dead ends. Gratitude doesn't just make you happier, it makes you more effective. Here's another truth. Gratitude protects you. It protects your heart from bitterness, jealousy, and discouragement. Without gratitude, you become vulnerable to envy, always comparing yourself to others, always feeling you are behind. Without gratitude, you become a prisoner of dissatisfaction. Nothing is ever enough. No achievement feels fulfilling. But with gratitude, you find contentment in the journey, not just in the destination. You can celebrate others without feeling diminished because you recognize that life is abundant and your portion is worth rejoicing over. Now let's go deeper. Gratitude is not just about what happens outside you, it's also about what happens inside you. It's about being thankful not only for what you receive, but also for who you are becoming. Gratitude says, I'm thankful for the strength I developed in hardship. I'm thankful for the patience I learned in waiting. I'm thankful for the wisdom gained through failure. When you practice gratitude for your own growth, even your scars become trophies. They remind you of where you've been, what you've overcome, and who you are now. So how do you practice intentional gratitude? Let me give you a simple but powerful exercise. Every day, write down 3 things you are grateful for. Do this in the morning to set the tone for your day, or in the evening to close your day with perspective. Don't just write vague things like family or health. Be specific. I'm grateful for the laugh I shared with my friend today. I'm grateful for the energy I felt after my walk. I'm grateful for the lesson I learned from a mistake at work. Specific gratitude deepens awareness and rewires your mind to notice blessings as they happen. And don't just write gratitude, speak it. Tell the people in your life that you appreciate them. Gratitude unspoken is like a gift never given. When you express thanks, you not only lift your own spirit, but also lift others. A simple thank you to a friend, a colleague, or a family member can brighten their day and strengthen your bond. Gratitude expressed turns relationships into treasures. Another practice, in moments of frustration, pause and ask, what can I be grateful for here? This doesn't deny the challenge, it reframes it. If your flight is delayed, maybe it gives you time to read a book. If a deal falls through, maybe it opens the door for a better one. If someone criticizes you, maybe it reveals an area for growth. Gratitude doesn't remove the storm, but it gives you shelter in the middle of it. Let me remind you, gratitude is not automatic, it is intentional. Negativity is automatic, complaints are automatic, discouragement is automatic. You don't need discipline to be ungrateful, but to be grateful, especially in difficulty, requires training. It requires strength of mind and heart. And yet when you train it, gratitude becomes second nature and it colors everything with possibility. Imagine this. 1 week from now, you begin every day by listing 3 things you're grateful for, and you end every day reflecting on what went right. 1 week, 7 days of intentional gratitude. How would you feel? Lighter, stronger, more alive. Your energy would rise, your outlook would expand, your relationships would warm. Gratitude practiced for a week could change your life. Gratitude practiced for a lifetime could transform your destiny. My friends, gratitude is not something to add to life. It is the way to live life. It is the foundation of joy, the seed of resilience, the doorway to abundance. If you can master gratitude, you can master perspective. And if you master perspective, no circumstance can ever truly defeat you. So I ask you, will you live life waiting for reasons to be grateful, or will you live life creating them? Because gratitude is not found, it is chosen. And once chosen, it will color your world with a beauty you never saw before.